Dad placed her hand on the will and looked me straight in the eye. Don't expect a dime from me. I remember the exact shade of the hospital walls that morning. That sickly pale green, like someone tried to make the color of hope but ran out of paint halfway through. My father had been in and out of consciousness for 3 days. The cancer had spread to his bones and his liver, and honestly, I think his spirit checked out a week before his body got the memo. My mother sat in the corner chair, the one that smelled like stale coffee and hand sanitizer. She was knitting something gray. She always knit when she was scared. I never saw her finish a single thing. My husband Jake stood behind me with his hand on my shoulder. His touch felt heavy that day, not comforting. Heavy, like he was holding me down. I didn't think much of it then. You never do. You just think, oh, he's here, he's supporting me. But looking back, I can feel the difference in the pressure of his fingers, like he was counting down to something. My father opened his eyes. They were clear for the first time in days. That's the cruel thing about the end. People get this little burst of light just before they go. It makes you believe they're getting better. It's a lie. Your own heart tells you so you can survive the next hour. He looked at my mother first, then at me, then at Jake. His eyes stopped on Jake longer than I liked. There was something there.
A flicker of disappointment or anger, or maybe just the tired judgment of a dying man who sees things everyone else is too busy to notice. Then he looked at my mother again. He reached for her hand. She put down the knitting. She never put down the knitting. The gray blob fell to the floor and neither of us picked it up. He spoke so quiet I had to lean in. The will. My mother nodded, like she knew this moment was coming. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded manila envelope, the kind you buy in a pack of 10 from Office Depot. Nothing fancy, just paper and a lifetime of decisions. She handed it to my father. His fingers were thin now, yellowed, but he held that envelope like it was a brick. He slid his thumb under the flap and tore it open. Slow, deliberate. Every sound felt like a small explosion in that tiny room. He pulled out the pages, 3 of them, stapled in the top left corner. I had seen them before. He showed me the first draft 5 years ago when I was 25 and still believed my marriage was unbreakable. He said, "You'll get the house and the lake property and the majority of the investments. Your brother Mark gets the business because he worked for it and you never wanted it anyway." Fair and clean. I agreed. Mark deserved the construction company. He busted his ass for Dad since he was 18. I was never good with concrete and blueprints. I married Jake instead. That was my career choice. But that morning, my father didn't read the will. He didn't hand it to the lawyer who was supposedly coming at noon. He placed my mother's hand on top of the pages, right on the stapled corner, and then he looked me straight in the eye. "Don't expect a dime from me." The words didn't register at first. I thought he was confused. Maybe the pain med's talking. I looked at my mother for some kind of reassurance, but her face was stone. She looked down at her hand on the will, and she didn't move, didn't blink. Jake's fingers tightened on my shoulder, just a little, enough for me to notice, enough for me to feel something shift under my skin. "Dad," I said, "what are you talking about?" He kept his eyes on me. That stare was the same one he gave me when I crashed his truck at 16, when I brought home a tattoo he told me would ruin my life, when I introduced him to Jake and he shook his hand for exactly 2 seconds too long. "You heard me," he said. "Not a dime." I thought about the house, the lake property, the investments. I didn't even want the money for myself. I wanted it because I was scared. Jake had been acting strange for months, distant, secretive with his phone, coming home late with excuses that sounded rehearsed. I told myself I was paranoid. I told myself every marriage has rough patches. But underneath all that telling myself, I knew something was wrong. And my father's money felt like a safety net. Like if everything fell apart, I could at least land on something soft. "Why?" I whispered. My voice cracked on the word. My father looked at Jake again, that long stare, then back at me. "You'll find out soon enough." My mother still didn't speak. She just kept her hand on the wheel, like she was holding down a living thing that might escape. I felt heat rise to my face. the kind of heat that comes from shame and confusion mixed together. I looked at Jake for help. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the floor, at his shoes, his black leather boots that he wore every day, even in summer. I noticed a small scuff on the left toe. I remember thinking that was weird because he was always so careful about his shoes. "Dad, please," I said. "If this is about something I did, just tell me. I'll fix it, whatever it is." He closed his eyes. The energy drained out of him like someone pulled a plug. His voice came out thin and tired. "It's not about what you did. It's about what you didn't see." Those words followed me home that night. They followed me into my bed, into my dreams. They were there when I woke up at 3 a.m. with my heart pounding and Jake snoring peacefully next to me. My father died 4 days later. I was holding his hand when he went. My mother was on the other side. Jake was in the waiting room because he said he needed coffee. He was gone for 45 minutes. The coffee shop was 3 minutes away. I didn't think about that until later. You see the pattern when you're ready to see it, not before. The funeral was on a Tuesday. It rained.
Of course it rained. The universe loves a good visual metaphor. Mark gave a eulogy that made everyone cry, including the pastor. My mother wore black, but her lipstick was red. I remember thinking that was the most defiant thing I'd ever seen. My father would have hated it, and also loved it. People came up to me afterward and said the usual things. "He's in a better place. He fought so hard. He was so proud of you." I smiled and nodded and said thank you, like a broken doll. Inside, I was still stuck on those words. Don't expect a dime from me. The reading of the will happened 10 days later. My mother's living room, same couch I'd sat on since I was 5 years old, same coffee table with the water stain from the time Mark put his sweaty glass down without a coaster. The lawyer was a man named Mr. Hanratty, who smelled like cigars and had eyebrows that moved independently of each other. Mark sat across from me. He looked tired. Grief had carved new lines into his face. He kept rubbing his thumb over his wedding ring, even though he wasn't married. Nervous habit. Jake sat next to me. His leg bounced. That was his tell. Bouncing leg meant something was eating at him. I'd learned that over 10 years of marriage, but I didn't know what the something was yet. I just knew the floor was vibrating under his knee. My mother sat in her armchair, the one my father always called the throne. She looked small in it now, but her eyes were sharp, watching, always watching. Mr.
Hanratty cleared his throat and began reading. The usual legal language. Blah, 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 being of sound mind. Blah, 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 revoking all previous wills. And then we got to the actual distribution. Mark got the construction company. That was expected. He also got the lake property. That was not expected. The lake house was supposed to be mine. I spent every summer of my childhood there. I learned to swim in that lake. I caught my first fish off that dock. I had my first kiss on that porch swing with a boy named Tommy, who later went to jail for selling counterfeit sneakers. That lake house was more home to me than the house I actually lived in. I looked at Mark. He looked at me. His face said, I didn't ask for this. Mr. Hanratty kept reading. My mother got the family home and a life insurance payout. That was fine. That made sense. And then he got to the part about me. To my daughter Emily, he read, I leave nothing. Not a single dollar, not a single asset. She has already received her inheritance in the form of lessons she will only understand when she is ready to see the truth. The room went silent. Even the rain outside seemed to stop. Jake's leg stopped bouncing. That was somehow worse. I felt like someone had reached into my chest and pulled out my ribs one by one. Not a single dollar. Not a single asset. My father had erased me. And not just erased me. He'd made it poetic. Lessons she will only understand when she is ready to see the truth.
That was a slap wrapped in a riddle. Mark stood up. That can't be right. Dad loved Emily. He would never... My mother held up her hand. Just one finger. Mark sat back down like a scolded dog. It's right, my mother said. Her voice was steady, cold almost. I watched him sign it. I turned to her. "Mom, you knew? You knew he was cutting me out and you didn't say anything?" She looked at me then, really looked at me, the way you look at someone you love, but you're also angry at them for being stupid. "He had his reasons," she said, "and one day you'll thank him for it." I laughed. I couldn't help it. It was an ugly laugh, the kind that comes out when something is so painful your brain decides to process it as comedy. Thank him? He left me with nothing. I'm 30 years old with a mortgage and student loans and a husband who... I stopped. I almost said something I couldn't take back. A husband who what? A husband who I was starting to be afraid of? A husband who felt like a stranger wearing familiar skin? Jake put his arm around me. "It's okay, babe," he said. "We don't need his money. We have each other." Such a nice thing to say. Such a perfect thing to say. And yet, I felt my skin crawl under his touch. The same way I felt it in the hospital. Heavy, like a hand on my shoulder that was really a hand on my throat. The drive home was quiet. Jake tried to make small talk. Traffic, the weather, whether I wanted takeout or if he should cook. I answered in monosyllables.
My mind was stuck on those words. What you didn't see. What didn't I see? That night I couldn't sleep. I got up around 2 a.m. and went to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, stood by the window looking out at our neighbors' perfectly trimmed hedges. Normal life, normal neighborhood, normal marriage. Everything looked so normal from the outside. Then I saw it. Jake's phone was on the counter. He usually took it to bed with him, kept it under his pillow like a child hiding candy. But tonight he'd left it there, probably because he was tired, probably because he thought I was asleep, probably because he didn't think I'd check. I'd never checked his phone before. 10 years of marriage, and I never once felt the need. That's not entirely true. I felt the need. I just talked myself out of it every time. Because once you look, you can't unsee. Once you know, you can't pretend. But my father was dead, and he'd left me nothing. And he said I would understand the truth when I was ready to see it. So maybe I was ready. Maybe that was the whole point. I picked up the phone. My hands were shaking. The screen lit up. No passcode. Jake never said a passcode because he said it was too much trouble. I always thought that was sweet, trusting. Now I wondered if it was just arrogance. He never thought I'd look. I opened his messages. Nothing suspicious at first. Work texts, a group chat with his fishing buddies, a text from his mom asking if we were coming for Thanksgiving. Then I scrolled down, further, past the ones from me. Our conversation was full of heart emojis and I love yous, and reminders to pick up milk. It looked like a happy marriage. It looked like a lie. And then I found it. A contact saved as M. Just the letter M. The messages went back months, years even. I scrolled to the beginning, but my eyes couldn't take in all the words at once. They kept snagging on certain phrases. Can't wait to see you. You make me feel alive. She doesn't understand me like you do. Classic stuff. The kind of thing you read in a novel and think, no one actually talks like that. But they do. Cheaters really do talk like bad dialogue. What got me wasn't the love notes. It was the logistics, the planning, the details. Meet me at the usual place, Tuesday at 6. That was last Tuesday. The Tuesday my father was in the hospital. Jake said he had to work late. He said he was sorry he couldn't be there. I told him it was fine. I told him Dad was stable. I told him to take care of himself. I was so understanding. I was so supportive. I was so stupid. Another message from 3 weeks earlier. I'll book the room. You bring the wine. The one I like. He had a favorite wine? I didn't even know he had a favorite wine. I bought him whatever was on sale at Kroger. The earliest message I could find was from 2 years ago. Just 2 words. Thinking of you. And her reply. Always thinking of you too. 2 years? Maybe longer. He'd been cheating on me for at least 2 years, while I held his hand at family dinners and defended him to my friends who said he seemed distant. and made his favorite meatloaf on his birthday, and went to bed every night believing I was safe. I didn't cry. I wanted to cry. My body wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. They were stuck behind something harder. Something like rage, but colder. Like the moment right before a fever breaks. I read every message, every single one. I needed to know everything. Not because I'm a glutton for punishment, but because I needed to understand what my father saw that I didn't. What everyone saw except me. The woman's name was Megan. I figured that out from context clues. M for Megan. She worked at Jake's office. She was the receptionist. I'd met her twice. Blonde, pretty in a forgettable way, big smile. She asked me where I got my earrings once. I told her they were a gift from my mother. She said they were lovely. I thought she was nice. She was sleeping with my husband. The messages detailed everything. Their first kiss at a holiday party 2 years ago, the first time they slept together in a hotel near the airport, the way she made him feel seen, the way he made her feel special, the way they both talked about me like I was an obstacle, not a person. She doesn't even notice when I come home late. She's always so tired. She just goes to bed. I was tired because I was working 60 hours a week as a nurse. I was tired because I was watching my father die. I was tired because I was holding our marriage together with both hands while he was off finding himself in some Holiday Inn Express. I put the phone down, exactly where I found it, face up on the counter. I went back to bed, lay down next to him, listened to him breathe. He made a small sound in his sleep, like a sigh, like relief. I stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. The next week was a blur. I went through the motions. Work, groceries, laundry, smiling at Jake when he came home, letting him kiss my cheek, cooking dinner, watching Netflix, sleeping in the same bed. All while my brain churned through the evidence like a washing machine on spin cycle. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed more. I needed to understand the full shape of the lie before I blew it up. I started paying attention. Really paying attention. The way you do when someone tells you there's a snake in the grass and you suddenly see them everywhere. Jake worked late 3 times that week. Each time he texted me around 4 o'clock. Gonna be late, babe. Don't wait up. Same message every time. He probably had it saved as a template. I didn't wait up, but I didn't sleep either. I sat by the window in the dark and watched for his headlights. He came home at 11:15, 11:42, 12:08. Each time he parked in the driveway and sat in his car for a few minutes, probably deleting messages, probably fixing his hair, probably practicing his innocent face. He never knew I was watching. On Thursday, I called his office. I pretended to be a client with a question about an invoice. The woman who answered was not Megan. I asked for Jake. She put me on hold. While I waited, I heard voices in the background. Laughter. A woman's laugh, high and bright. Then Jake's voice, lower, intimate. The kind of tone you use when you're close to someone. Really close. He got on the phone. "Hello, this is Jake." I hung up. That night, I went through his phone again. He'd gotten sloppy. Or maybe he just didn't care anymore. The messages were still there. New ones from that day. "She's acting weird. I think she suspects something." Megan's reply. "Then just leave her. It's not that hard." Jake. "It's complicated." Megan. "It's not. You just don't want to be the bad guy." Jake. "You're right." He left her on red after that. I wondered if he ever replied. I wondered if he was thinking about what she said. If he was really considering leaving me. If he already had. I took screenshots. Dozens of them. I sent them to my own phone. Then I deleted the evidence from his phone and put it back exactly where I found it. I wasn't hiding what I did. I was buying time. I needed to figure out my next move. The next day, I went to see my mother. I hadn't been back to the house since the will reading. It felt different now.
My father's absence was a physical thing, a hole in the air. His chair in the living room was empty.
His coffee mug was still on the counter. She hadn't moved anything. Grief does that, turns your home into a museum. She was in the kitchen making soup. Tomato, his favorite. She didn't even like tomato soup. "Mom," I said, "you need to tell me what Dad knew." She didn't look up from stirring the pot. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. He cut me out of the will. He looked me in the eye and said, 'Don't expect a dime.' He said I'd understand the truth when I was ready. So what did he know? What did he see that I didn't?" She stopped stirring, put the spoon down on the spoon rest, turned to face me. Her eyes were wet, but her jaw was set. That woman could watch the world burn and still fold her napkin properly. "Your father loved you more than anything," she said, "but he also knew you better than anyone. He knew you were the kind of person who would rather believe a beautiful lie than face an ugly truth. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have." She walked over to the refrigerator and pulled a magnet off the door, one of those cheap ones from a hardware store. It had a phone number on it. "Call this." I looked at the number, local area code. "Who is this?" "A private investigator. Your father hired him 6 months ago." My blood went cold. "For what?" "For you. For Jake." She pressed the magnet into my palm. Her fingers were warm from the soup. "Your father wasn't just dying of cancer.
He was dying of watching his daughter be betrayed by a man who didn't deserve her. He tried to tell you a dozen times, but you always defended Jake. You always made excuses. So he stopped trying to tell you and started trying to prove it." "Prove what?" My mother looked at me like I was 5 years old again and asking why the sky was blue, like the answer was so obvious it hurt to say out loud. "That Jake has been stealing from your father's company for 3 years, that he forged signatures, that he opened a secret bank account in the Cayman Islands, that he and that woman have been planning to run off together with your inheritance the moment your father died." I couldn't breathe. The kitchen tilted sideways. I grabbed the counter to steady myself. "That's not possible," I said. "Jake doesn't even work for Dad's company. He's in sales." "He was the accountant for the construction company for 18 months before your father fired him. You forgot that? Or did you choose to forget?" I searched my memory. Yes, Jake did work for my father briefly, right after we got married. He said it was temporary. He said he wanted to help out. My father was hesitant, but I begged him, "Please, Dad, give him a chance. He's family now." He lasted a year and a half. Then my father let him go. No explanation, just said it wasn't working out. I was angry at my dad for months. I thought he was being controlling. I thought he didn't respect my husband. I defended Jake. I always defended Jake. "He funneled money into an offshore account," my mother continued. "Your father caught it during an audit, but Jake had already moved the funds. Your father tried to pursue legal action, but the lawyer said it would cost more than the stolen amount to fight it, so he let it go. But he never forgot, and he never forgave himself for letting you marry a thief." "Why didn't he tell me?" "He did tell you. You didn't believe him. You said your father was just jealous. You said he didn't understand your marriage. You said he was trying to control your life." Her voice cracked for the first time. "You chose Jake over your own father, and your father chose to let you because he loved you that much." I sank into a chair, the same chair I sat in when I was 10 years old doing homework, when I was 15 crying over a boy who broke my heart, when I was 25 telling my parents I was engaged to a man they barely trusted. "The will," I said quietly. "He left me nothing because he knew Jake would take it." My mother nodded. "Your father knew if he left you money, Jake would find a way to get his hands on it, just like he did with the company. He knew you'd defend Jake. He knew you'd hand over every dollar because you thought you were being a good wife. So he made sure there were no dollars to hand over. He protected you from yourself." I thought about the lake property, the house, the investments, all of it gone. Not because my father didn't love me, but because he loved me too much to let me destroy myself. "The private investigator," I said. "What did he find?" My mother sat down across from me.
She took both my hands in hers. Her skin was thin now, fragile, but her grip was strong. "He found everything," she said. "The affair, the bank account, the plane tickets. Jake and that woman have been planning to leave for months. They have passports. They have a condom in Florida under her name. They were waiting for your father to die so the inheritance would be released, and you would deposit it into the joint account. Then Jake would take half, maybe all of it, and he would disappear." I pulled my hands away, stood up, walked to the window. The same window my father stood at every morning, drinking his coffee. What did he see from here? What did he watch? The mailman? The neighbors? His daughter driving away with a man who was slowly destroying her? "Call the investigator," my mother said. "His name is Frank. He's waiting for you. He has everything. Bank records, emails, photos. Enough to put Jake in prison. Enough to divorce him and take everything he has left." "I don't want his money," I said. "I never wanted any of this." "I know." She came up behind me and put her hand on my back, the same spot where Jake used to put his, but her touch didn't feel heavy. It felt like home. "Your father knew that too. That's why he loved you. And that's why he left you nothing. Because he knew you would figure it out on your own. And when you did, you would be stronger than any inheritance could ever make you." I called Frank that afternoon. He met me at a diner off the highway, the kind of place where the coffee is bad and the pie is good, and nobody asks questions. He was a heavy man with a kind face and a briefcase full of nightmares. He spread the papers out on the table. Bank statements with highlighted numbers, emails printed on plain white paper, photos of Jake and Megan holding hands outside a hotel, in a parking lot, in a restaurant, in his car. Photos of them kissing, photos of them laughing, photos of them looking at each other like I never existed. 3 years. 3 years of lying. 3 years of stealing. 3 years of making me feel crazy for asking questions, and needy for wanting affection, and paranoid for suspecting the truth. Frank slid a folder across the table. "This is everything you need. The bank records show the money Jake stole from your father's company. The emails show the plan to take your inheritance. The photos speak for themselves. You can take this to a lawyer tomorrow and have him served by Friday." I opened the folder. The first page was a photograph. Jake and Megan on the beach. Florida. Clear blue water. White sand. He was holding her from behind. She was laughing. They looked happy. They looked like people in love. I closed the folder. "Thank you," I said. Frank nodded. "Your father was a good man. He paid me for 6 months of work up front. Told me to give you the results when you were ready. He said he would come, he just didn't know when." How did he know? Frank sipped his coffee, made a face. The coffee really was terrible. "He said you were smart, smarter than you gave yourself credit for. He said it would take time, but eventually you would start asking the right questions. He just hoped he'd be alive to see it." He wasn't. But maybe that was the point. Maybe he didn't need to see it. Maybe the knowing was enough. I drove home with the folder on the passenger seat. I didn't open it again. I didn't need to. I had already seen what I needed to see. I had already felt what I needed to feel. The rest was just paperwork. Jake was on the couch when I got home, watching a game, drinking a beer, living his life like he hadn't been plotting my destruction for 3 years. He looked up when I walked in, smiled. The same smile he gave me on our wedding day. The same smile he gave me when he said I love you. The same smile he gave me while planning to leave me with nothing. "Hey, babe," he said. "How was your mom?" I stood in the doorway, the folder in my hand, the truth finally sitting on my tongue like a stone I was ready to swallow. "She's good," I said. "She told me everything." Jake's smile didn't waver, but his eyes did. I saw it, a flicker, a crack, a moment of calculation. What does she know? How much does she know? Can I talk my way out of this? "Everything about what?" he asked. Casual, easy. Like he was asking about the weather. I walked over to the coffee table. I put the folder down, right on top of the TV guide, right in the center of his perfect little life. Everything about you and Megan, I said. Everything about the money you stole from my father. Everything about the bank account in the Caymans. Everything about the condo in Florida. Everything about the plane tickets. Everything about the last 3 years of my life that you stole from me. His face changed, slowly, like watching a photograph develop in reverse. The smile faded. The warmth drained. Something cold and hard took its place. The man I married disappeared. The man underneath was a stranger. Emily, he said, you don't understand. Then explain it to me. I sat down across from him, folded my hands in my lap, made myself small and still and waiting. Explain it to me like I'm stupid, because that's what you thought I was, right? Stupid, naive, easy to fool. He ran a hand through his hair. His legs started bouncing again. That tell, that stupid little tell. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Because I have 3 years of bank records and emails and photographs that say otherwise. So please, enlighten me. He looked at the folder, then at me, then back at the folder. I could see him calculating, lying, cheating, stealing. Those were his skills. But the one skill he never developed was honesty. He didn't know how to tell the truth. He didn't even know what it looked like. I love you, he said. I laughed. That same ugly laugh from the will reading, the sound of something breaking that was never meant to be fixed. No, you don't. You never did. You loved what I could give you. My father's money, my family's name, my willingness to believe the best in you, even when everyone else could see the worst. He stood up, paced to the kitchen and back. His hands were shaking, or maybe that was my imagination. Maybe I wanted him to be scared. Maybe I needed him to feel a fraction of what I felt when I read those messages, when I saw those photos, when I realized my father was dying and my husband was already gone. What are you going to do? He asked. I stood up, picked up the folder, held it against my chest like a shield. I'm going to call a lawyer, I said, and then I'm going to call the police, and then I'm going to watch you lose everything, just like you tried to do to me. His face went pale, not metaphorically, actually pale. The color drained from his cheeks like someone pulled a plug. You can't do that. Watch me. I walked to the door. He grabbed my arm. His fingers dug in. Hard. Too hard. The way he grabbed me once before. A year ago. At a party. When I said something he didn't like. He apologized the next day. Said he was drunk. Said it would never happen again. And I believed him. Because that's what I did. I believed him. Let go of me, I said. He didn't let go. Emily, please. We can work this out. We can go to counseling.
We can let go of me now. He looked at my face. Really looked. Maybe for the first time. And he saw something that made him release his grip. Maybe he saw my father in my eyes. That same stare. That same finality. The look of someone who has already made up their mind and will not be moved. He let go. I walked out the door, got in my car, drove to my mother's house. The folder sat on the passenger seat like a promise, like a key, like the truth I had finally decided to see. My mother was waiting on the porch, the same porch where I learned to tie my shoes, where I waited for the school bus, where I kissed Tommy and later Jake, and later no one at all. She stood up when I pulled into the driveway. She didn't say anything. She just opened her arms. I fell into them. And for the first time since my father died, I cried. Not the quiet tears of a woman holding herself together, the ugly, loud sobs of a daughter who finally understood, who finally saw, who finally stopped believing the beautiful lie and faced the ugly truth. My father didn't leave me nothing. He left me something better. He left me the chance to start over, to be strong, to be smart, to be the woman he always knew I could be, the woman who doesn't need a dime from anyone.